You Owe Me One Universe by Chad Lucas, Chapter 30, All the Wrong Things, Ezra. I felt like I was dreaming as the cheers washed over me. The loudest was probably my mom, though I couldn't quite make her out near the back. I practically floated off the stage, and I didn't get far before Brittany wrapped me in a huge hug. I was grinning so wide I could feel it in my cheeks. The applause felt amazing, but more than that, I was thrilled because I did it. And once I'd started, it wasn't scary. I felt like I belonged up there. I already wanted to do it again. The school band closed with a performance of the Jurassic Park theme, and then Miss Burt took the mic to thank Ty for hosting and Maddie and me for organizing the show. After more applause, the lights came up and the room filled with the noise of conversations and scraping chairs. My friends rushed over and Brian gave me a big hug. Ezra, that was incredible, he said. I mean, I knew it would be, but wow. You weren't just great, you were a whole vibe, Brittany said. I'm so proud of you, dude. I recorded it all, Kevin added. We have to get you a YouTube channel. Slow down, Kev, I laughed. I was still giddy from the thrill of playing. Caleb ran up to us. Ezra, you're like the wickedest guitarist, and you have an amazing voice. We should start a band. You and me and Nneka and Victor and Maddie, we would be awesome. I was thinking the same thing, I told him. Really? Caleb got so excited he threw his arms in the air and his drumsticks went flying. Whoops! Anyway, that's cool. Look, talk to you tomorrow. He fled as quickly as he arrived, chasing after his sticks. Ty watched him and shook his head. Your rock star hotness is a powerful thing, my friends. That boy has the biggest crush on you. I blinked. Caleb? Definitely, Gabe chimed in. Brittany's right about your vibe. I bet a bunch of kids fell in love with you tonight. It was a flattering thought, but right now I was only interested in one person who had a crush on me. Victor was still across the room, talking with his friends. I was trying to suck up the courage to go over when Miss Burt beckoned him to the front of the room. I took the chance to join them. Can you wheel the piano back to the music room? Miss Burt was asking Victor. Maybe one of your friends can help. I'll do it, I volunteered. Victor gave me a half smile. We each grabbed an end and steered the piano toward the exit. The crowd parted for us, and then we were in the hallway alone. Victor guided the front of the piano, backpedaling and looking over his shoulder as he went. A lock of hair fell across his forehead every time he turned. He caught me looking and half grinned again. What? My cheeks went hot. Did you ever think about learning the harmonica? It's much more portable. Victor laughed. How do you know I'm not a harmonica genius? I guess I don't. Maybe it's part of your mysterious past. I was joking, mostly, but Victor only went, heh, and looked back over his shoulder. When we reached the music room, we parked the piano and he leaned against his side. Is that how you think of me? That I'm mysterious? I shrugged. You don't tell me much. He was quiet for a moment. You were amazing tonight, he said eventually. You were too, I said. Thanks, but you were really great and brave. He exhaled. I thought about playing something I wrote, but I chickened out. You did it, though, and it was incredible. Watching you perform tonight, Victor drifted closer with each word until we were both standing in front of the piano. I took his hand. He squeezed mine back. My heart was thumping hard against my ribs. Victor pushed his hair from his face. He swallowed. Ezra, just kiss me, or maybe I should kiss you. Then we heard laughter echoing down the hall, and Victor let go of my hand like it had burned him. He took a half step away as band kids poured in, carrying instruments and stands. It stung. As the room filled with people and voices, Maddie and Miranda rushed to me and started talking. By the time I looked up, Victor was following Colby out the door. He glanced back and gave me the tiniest nod before he was gone. Everything was hazy after that. A bunch more people congratulated me when I headed back to the cafeteria to pick up my guitar and amp. On the drive home, Mom and Dad told me how proud they were and how great I'd sounded. I smiled through it all, but my mind was stuck on how Victor dropped my hand in an instant. Once I was in my room, I opened our chat and stared at my phone, hoping he might say something, apologize even, but he didn't. On Wednesday morning, I wasn't sure if I wanted to find Victor or avoid him. I had no idea which would make the flutter in my belly go away, but I didn't run into him before homeroom, and the flutter was still there when I plopped into my seat. Brian leaned toward me. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. I wanted to explain, but not here, not when I still needed to make it through school. "I don't know," I whispered back. "I'll tell you later." By second period, I decided I didn't want to keep riding this roller coaster where Victor and I went from good to awkward and back again. I needed to know if he was for real. At morning break, I went looking for him. It didn't take long. As I entered the stairwell, a group of guys rushed past, with Victor at the back of the pack. "Wait up," he wheezed. "My ribs still hurt." "Victor," I called. He slowed. His eyes met mine. My stomach plunged. Victor looked afraid, like he was worried I'd blurt out, "Hey, why didn't you kiss me last night?" in front of his cool friends. Maybe there was some other reason. Whatever. It was definitely fear in his eyes, and it made me feel so small. He recovered quickly. "Hey," he said casually, "can we catch up later, after school?" "You coming?" one of the guys yelled at the bottom of the stairs. Colby met my eyes for a split second and looked away. Victor turned toward them, and I knew where he wanted to be. "Go ahead," I mumbled. "Okay, talk later." He did the freaking nod again and hurried down the stairs. I headed to the bathroom and stayed there until break was over. I managed to hold it together through the next 2 periods, but at lunch, Victor's crew was in the foyer. There was no way to reach the cafeteria without passing them, and it was the last thing I wanted to do. I was itchy all over, and sweat broke out on my forehead, and everything sounded 10 times louder than usual. I grabbed Brian's arm. "Can we do lunch at your house? Like, right now?" Brian didn't hesitate. "Let's go." I headed for the side doors, avoiding the foyer and front doors altogether. Brian didn't ask why or why we weren't stopping for our coats. He waited until we were a block from school before he asked, "What's wrong? You look like I feel when I'm having a panic attack." I scratched my neck. The itch still lingered, but I felt less like I might spontaneously combust now that we were outside. I felt gross all of a sudden, I admitted. I had to get out of there. Brian was quiet for half a block. "Victor?" "Yeah." He waited. Brian was the last person who had rushed someone into spilling their guts. After a few more steps, I told him how quickly Victor had changed last night and how he'd brushed me off this morning. "I feel like such a dope. Maddie warned me. I should have known better." He sighed. "I'm so sorry, Ezra." He meant it too. Even though he had every reason to say, "Duh, I knew this would happen," he only looked sad, because he cared about me that much. Hanging out at his house made me feel a little better. We had PE last period, and running around the gym helped me blow off steam too. At the end of the day, Brian and I made it without running into Victor again, but we were 3 blocks from school when I heard him calling behind us. "Ezra, wait!" The itch on my neck returned. Brian noticed. "You could pretend you didn't hear him," he murmured. But I couldn't, not really. With a sigh, I looked back. Victor and Colby were rushing towards us. When they caught up, no one spoke for a moment. That probably lasted 3 seconds, but contained enough awkwardness to fill a whole week. "I thought we were going to talk after school," Victor said. That was where he was starting? Not even "good to see you," or "sorry I acted like I barely know you"? I shrugged. "You weren't specific, so I made plans with Brian." "Oh." Victor glanced around like he was making sure no one was listening, and I hated it. "Maybe tonight?" "Nah, I'm good." I started walking. "Ezra," Victor's voice went, not angry exactly, but there was an edge to it that I didn't like. I stopped and folded my arms. "You acted like you didn't want to be seen with me last night, and today, and I don't want to keep doing that, so just give me some space, please." He frowned. "Ezra, it's not like that." "What's it like then? Please explain." Victor's mouth twitched like his words were stuck. His eyes cut to Brian. "You can talk in front of Brian," I said. "He's my best friend and he knows about us." Victor's cheeks went red. "Brian would never out you," I continued, "and neither would I, if that's what you're worried about. I understand if you're not ready, and I would never pressure you about that. But I'm not going to pretend we're strangers either. It doesn't feel good. Victor looked at his shoes. I don't want that either. It's just, you don't understand. How am I supposed to understand? You bury everything and never talk about what's really going on with you. And I can't keep doing that either. You need to figure some stuff out. Then maybe we can talk. I started down the sidewalk with Brian. He didn't stop us. For 5 seconds, I hoped he would run after me, say he was sorry, and pour out a heartfelt confession like the love interest coming to his senses in a rom-com. But he didn't. I glanced back. His shoulders were slumped, and he and Colby were just standing there. They were letting us get ahead. I guess since Colby lived 1 street away from me, and it was way too awkward to walk together now. Do you know what your problem is? I called. This goes for you too, Colby. You both act like you're too cool to care about anything, but you care just as much as the rest of us. You just care about all the wrong things. Colby stretched his arms like he was saying, "What did I do?" Victor just blinked. I turned and stormed away. Chapter 31, Advanced Doubles Moping. Brian. Ezra stomped home like he was trying to fight the sidewalk. I didn't know what to say, but it felt like I should give him space. I stayed quiet until we reached his house, and he plopped onto a stool in the kitchen. I sat beside him. That was impressive. You handled that well. Really? Then why do I feel like garbage? He wiped at his eyes. I wanted so badly to make him feel better. Whenever I was down, Ezra always tried to pick me up. He and Gabe and Brittany had nudged me out of so many holes, and even when I fell in a colossal planet-eating hole, they were there all the way. I wasn't always great at accepting their help, but I knew I could count on them. Then it hit me. I knew what to do. I put a hand on his shoulder. This is where I should say something encouraging, but honestly, you deserve to mope all afternoon. He sniffle-laughed. You think? Definitely. Lucky for you, I'm a junior regional champion moper. Wallowing in misery is one of my greatest talents. I'm usually a solo moper, but today we could practice advanced doubles moping. How does that work? I paced the kitchen like a coach hashing out game strategy. We need comfort food, starting with drinks. Hot chocolate? Mom says ginger tea fixes everything, Ezra said, but I could do hot chocolate. Good, and we need to pair that with more sugar. I rooted through the pantry and found a box of Jos Louis cakes. Are we allowed to eat these? Before he could answer, I held up a hand. Trick question. When you're dealing with heartache, you can eat whatever you want. I filled the kettle to boil water. I'll make drinks. You go change. You can't mope in jeans. What do you recommend? In a hardcore mope, I strip to my underwear and cocoon in a blanket. But if you don't want to go that bleak, just pick your most comfortable clothes. I gestured to the sweatpants and hoodie I've worn to school. As you can see, I'm always prepared. Ezra headed to his room. I'd just put the finishing touches on 2 perfect mugs of hot chocolate when he returned in pajama pants and a basketball warm-up shirt. Perfect, I said. Now we could watch one of your favorite TV episodes to unwind while we snack, or we could jump right to the musical portion of our program. Ezra's eyes lit up. How about one episode of Avatar while I make a playlist? I nodded. You're definitely ready for advanced doubles moping. By the time we finished the beach episode of Avatar, Ezra had assembled a masterful mix of melancholy on his phone. He connected it to the speakers in his room, and we chilled for a while without talking, just letting the music wash over us. Ezra closed his eyes and sang along. I joined him in my best falsetto, and he laughed. Ezra lay back on his bed. Maybe I should be a monk. Maybe that's easier than crushing on anyone. I don't think that would help. I think you'd just be a monk who has crushes. I stretched beside him. Maybe you need to find someone halfway between Victor and me. We're both disasters in different ways. Maybe there's someone who has our good qualities with none of the messy side effects. Or you could combine our DNA in a lab. That sounds like a setup for a zombie movie. Try to engineer the perfect guy, then he eats your brains. You should write a song about that, like a shouty punk song. Ezra sat up. He smiled. 5 minutes later, he was playing noisy power chords while we both yelled, I fell in love with a zombie. / and he tried to eat my brain. That was the only lyric we had, but sometimes songs didn't need to be complicated. Besides, writing a song was a top-tier achievement in advanced doubles moping. Ezra and I were pros.